Have you ever had one of those moments where somebody offered to be generous to you, but you didn't need their generosity and you didn't want to take advantage of them? We're going to see that today lived out in Abraham's life in Genesis 23. Hey guys, and welcome back to God's Word Made Simple by Simple Servant Ministries. My name is Aaron Hawk, and if this is your first time visiting with us, I just want to say welcome and thank you for joining us today. God's Word Made Simple is an online discipleship ministry dedicated to taking God's Word and making it simple. We want to help you understand God's Word, apply it to your life, and grow in your relationship with the Lord. And by the way, guys, if you appreciate this ministry and this channel, at some point make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn that bell notification to all so you don't miss any future videos. Okay guys, so let's get into the text. So today we are going to see the death of Sarah, although there's really not much information other than just she died. But we're going to see the death of Sarah, and you're going to see Abraham doing his best to live at peace with the people of the land, as well as some of the mutual respect that they had for each other. Okay, so let's get into the text in chapter 3, verse 1. Now Sarah lived 127 years. These were the years of the life of Sarah. Sarah died in Kiriath Arba, and again, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I could go back and look, but I choose to do this very transparently with you guys, so don't be worried about murdering something if you're in a Bible study. That is Hebron, in the land of Canaan, and Abraham went in to mourn for Sarah and weep for her. They've been through a lot together, and they've lived together for a long time. Verse 3, Then Abraham rose from before his dead and spoke to the sons of Heth, saying, remember, these are the people that he's dwelling in their land. He's a sojourner, but he's been given land in recent history. If you haven't caught it, go back and catch the rest of the Genesis series there. Probably start somewhere around, let's see. Yeah, I'd start at least around chapter 20, so I'll put the card there for chapter 20 as well. Just if you want the background, otherwise you may not be understanding all of this. But the bottom line is he's living in this land. Okay, so he spoke to the sons of Heth, as we said in verse 3. Verse 4, I am a stranger and a sojourner among you. Give me a burial site among you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And, you know, burials during this time were literally just you wrap somebody in cloth, you dig a hole, you put them down in the hole, and you bury it. They didn't have all the embalming process and everything that we do today. They didn't have the cement and, you know, everything to try and preserve the body. That actually would have been considered weird during this time. The body is really supposed to just decompose in the ground, and quite frankly, if it was allowed in America, I would do that for myself. I have no desire for my family to spend all kinds of money just putting me in the ground to have some preserved flesh. Okay, verse 4, I am a stranger and a sojourner among you. Give me a burial site among you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. Verse 5, the sons of Heth answered Abraham, saying to him. Now, this is important before I move on. In this culture, when somebody made a request, you were sort of societally obligated to match this request, to meet the request. So he's saying, you know, give me a burial site among you. Now, Abraham didn't mean literally give. He didn't mean for free. He's just saying, allow me somewhere to bury her. I don't have a tomb. And typically they would have had a family tomb or crypt of some sort. Hear us, my Lord, a title of respect. You are a mighty prince among us. Bury your dead in the choicest of our graves. None of us will refuse you his grave for burying your dead. And again, this usually would have been like a family plot. This would have been something that was planned or passed down, right? And just like anyone, they would have wanted to honor their dead by where they buried them. So they're just saying, look, literally exactly what it says. Look, you pick the best of the best. We love and respect you. We're going to just make it happen. So verse 7, so Abraham rose and bowed to the people of the land, the sons of Heth, and he spoke with them, saying, if it is your wish for me to bury my dead out of my sight, hear me. Now notice this hear me thing. This is a formal conversation. There's a lot of politics going on here in their culture. We don't get this. When we read this, we don't understand their culture that's going on here, so we miss the politics, but it's very parliamentary in the way that they would speak to each other. So the hear me means, here's my main point, right? Here's what I want you to understand. So, if it is your wish for me to bury my dead out of my sight, which they've already said that it is, but this is like super deep south politeness here. if this is your wish, this isn't manipulation. He's dragging on to their conversation for the sake of peace, or pulling out of their conversation because they said that it was their wish. Hear me and approach Ephron, the son of Zohar, for me, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, if I'm saying that correctly. Again, don't be worried about murdering things, which he owns, which is at the end of his field. Now, this is interesting because Abraham already had somewhere in mind, right? They told him, hey, you pick anywhere that you want, you can have it. Abraham didn't have to go, oh, well, give me a little time and let me figure this out. Abraham already had somewhere in mind. So again, this is a very political conversation that's going on here. But it's a good politics in this case. It's just part of their culture. Very similar to being in the Deep South in the way that you communicate some of these types of things. So Abraham didn't have to think about it. He already knew the place that he wanted. So he says, which is at the end of his field. Now notice this, for the full price, let him give it to me in your presence for a burial site. So it would be rude to presume that something is to be given, right? I said earlier, he didn't mean for free. So he's saying, look, and also to save face because of their culture. It would have been societally wrong for him to expect something for free as well, just like it is in our culture, or should be. And notice he even goes so far as to say for the full price. So he's even saying, look, don't treat me special, don't give me the friends and family discount, give it to me for the full price. And Abraham could have paid it, he was quite well off. And then he's noticed that he said, let him give it to me in your presence for a burial site. This was the formal, normal way that you would exchange things. There were lots of witnesses. That way nobody could come back later and say, hey, that's not what he said, that's not what he said. It was a very formal process, and it's similar to the way that we have signed contracts now, so that you can prove, no, this is what we agreed on and when we agreed on it. If it's not in the contract, it doesn't exist, right? They didn't have written contracts, so they would use witnesses in this manner. Verse 10, now Ephron was sitting among the sons of Heth, so he happened to be there. Now, it may be that Abraham knew he was there, it may be that he didn't. It seems to indicate that he just happened to be there, right? Because again, it didn't always involve the whole family, whoever would come out. So now Ephron was sitting among the sons of Heth, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the hearing of the sons of Heth. So this would be like the formal contract equivalent. For him to say this is the equivalent of putting this down in a contract. In the sons of Heth, even all who went in at the gate of his city, saying, so this is his response to Abraham, verse 11, no, my Lord, to the full price. No, my Lord, hear me. I give you the field, I give you the field, and I give you the cave that is in it. So not only am I going to let you bury her in this tomb, I'm going to give it to you, and I'm even giving you the field, right? We say in America, lock, stock, and barrel, right? I mean, he's saying, this is the Aaron paraphrase, look, brother, if you want that place to bury her, I'm going to give you not only the burial site, but the field also. You take it all, and it's on me. I want you to have it. It's the Aaron paraphrase, right? Can't find my place. So again, second half of verse 11, in the presence of the sons of my people, I give it to you, bury your dead. In other words, what is something like this between us? This is a gift. Burying your wife is far more important than chump change between us. That's essentially what he's communicating here. Verse 12, and by the way, again, he reiterated that this is in front of everybody. So this is the equivalent of him signing a written contract. It's done. Verse 12, and Abraham bowed before the people of the land. This is a sign of respect, not a religious bow. And by the way, as a martial arts instructor, you see my belt back there, right? I deal with that a lot, where Christians feel like you shouldn't bow. There's a difference in bowing out of respect and bowing down to somebody. There's a big difference, and you see that here in the Bible as well. He spoke to Ephron in the hearing of all the people of the land, or in the hearing of the people of the land, saying, so this is Abraham's response. Again, this is very formal, very parliamentary, saying, if you will only please listen to me. So now they're having a, you listen to me, no, you listen to me, but a very polite, again, very deep south sounding conversation here. I will give you the price of the field, accept it from me that I may bury my dead there. Then Ephraim answered, I don't think that needs more explanation. Then Ephraim answered Abraham, saying to him, so we're doing the back and forth, My Lord, listen to me. A piece of land worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between me and you? So bury your dead. So it's unclear to me with certainty exactly what's going on here. I think what this is because in this culture, and again, it's very similar to deep South methods of communication. It's a way of him saying, well, I'm not going to argue if you want to pay me, but it's really not worth that much anyway, right? Or it may simply be that he feels obligated to provide for Abraham, and Abraham feels obligated not to accept a free gift for the sake of peace in the community. Which of these two is going on here, or some combination of both? I'm not really sure. I don't see a way to be absolutely sure in the text. But whatever the case, Ephraim does actually name a price here. So it's obvious that he's willing to accept money for it, and maybe Abraham knew that, and that's why he's going through this whole formal process. That would again be a pretty common way of doing things in the Deep South. And their culture in this respect was not that different than what we have in deep Southern tradition. So, my Lord, listen to me, a piece of land worth 400 shekels of silver. And I mean, that wasn't chump change, but for land, that wasn't much. What is that between me and you? So bury your dead. Verse 16, obviously Ephraim mentioned this price, so Abraham caught that. He's no dummy. Abraham listened to Ephraim, and Abraham weighed out for Ephraim the silver which he had named in the hearing of the sons of Heth. 400 shekels of silver, commercial standard. In other words, all above board, here is the exact price that you asked for in the midst of all these witnesses. That would be the same as signing a contract, having a cashier's check or a certified check, and having the receipts and the transaction history to back it up. All right, so verse 17. So Ephraim's field, which was in Machpelah, which faced Mamre, the field and the cave which was in it, and all the trees which were in the field that were within all the confines of its border, were deeded over. Apparently I can't talk all of a sudden. To Abraham, or were deeded over, see, I really can't talk, were deeded over to Abraham for a possession in the presence of the sons of Heth, before all who went in at the gate of the city. And I've talked to you guys before about how important the gates of the city were. That was the public place where all business was done. Everybody had to go in and out. It was a very important place in the Old Testament cities. Verse 19, after this, Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah facing Mamre, which is in Hebron in the land of Canaan. So the field and the cave that is in it were deeded over to Abraham for a burial site by the sons of Heth. So after all of this, after all this longing and waiting for the promise, after all this time of raising Isaac, now we see Sarah has passed away. It is time for the new generation to rise up. The old generation passes away. So guys, this is a little bit more of a historical chapter than necessarily a devotional one, right? I mean, there are some lessons that we can learn here, like, treating people fairly and all that, but this is really more of a historical chapter and an informational one that just is a good conclusion to the story of Abraham and Sarah. So guys, that is it for today. If you appreciate this content, make sure to hit that like button, hit subscribe, turn that bell notification to all so you don't miss any future videos. Please share this video with somebody that you think it would be helpful. And if you want to support the ministry, there is a link down in the description. Thank you guys very much, and God bless.